Well, you see, Bill, even as a child, I had kind of a rich fantasy life.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're examining the 10 most evil Americans that are still alive.
72-year-old Joseph James DAngelo, former police officer, family man who is hiding in plain sight in suburban Sacramento.
For this list, we'll be looking at the scariest and most malicious Americans who are still living. What do you make of these stories? Let us know in the comments below. Keith Raniere. Back in 1998, Keith Raniere of Brooklyn, New York launched NXIVM. On the surface, the company focused on marketing and self-help by hosting public seminars.
Like other empowerment groups, NXIVM has its own lingo. Students are taught about overcoming disintegrations to become more potent.
However, NXIVM was actually a dangerous cult, overseen by Raniere himself. Most of the harm occurred with a subgroup called DOS, which saw the use of forced labor, corporal punishment, and even a branding ritual in which Raniere's initials were burned into the skin.
All the indoctrination, all the years of women are weak, women have no character. Now is the time to prove I can do it.
Raniere was also known to abuse female members, and he often had them trafficked and groomed. Raniere was finally arrested in 2018 and charged with a number of offenses, including human trafficking. He was sentenced to 120 years in prison and is currently serving time in the United States Penitentiary, Tucson.
Keith Raniere will not be able to victimize people anymore after today's sentence, and we're very grateful for that.
Edmund Kemper. Few serial killers are as notorious as Edmund Kemper. Known as the co-ed killer, he mostly targeted young female hitchhikers and did unspeakable things with their bodies.
Innocent people would become victims of his fantasy world.
Years before, when Kemper was just 15 years old, he killed his paternal grandparents after being sent to live with them. He also killed his mother in April of 1973 before turning himself into the police.
And then with every killing, there's an attempt to perfect that fantasy until its actual underpinnings are revealed, which is the killing of his mother.
All told, Kemper took the lives of 10 people between 1964 and 1973. Kemper wished to be executed for his crimes, but California had abolished the death penalty back in 1972. As such, he was given 8 life sentences and has remained in the California Medical Facility ever since.
If there's one thing I know, it's this. A mother should not scorn her own son.
Scott Lee Kimball. This serial killer from Colorado blended financial cons with homicide. He would kill his targets and then use their credit cards to make it appear as if they were still alive somewhere.
With the help of the banks and credit card companies, Howard and Darlene Emery were able to recreate a 10-day trail of gasoline charges that led through Colorado, Wyoming, Oregon, Washington, and Nevada.
He also worked as an informant with the FBI while forging bad checks, but he often fed them false information. Like Ed Kemper, Scott Lee Kimball also killed those close to him, including his uncle and stepdaughter.
When Lori had asked Scott where Terry had gone, Kimball told her that Terry had won the lottery and had taken his girlfriend to Mexico.
He also allegedly tried to kill his son, but this attempt was unsuccessful. Kimball confessed to killing 4 people, but experts believe his true body count could be in the 20s. He was given a combined 70 years and is incarcerated in Florida's United States Penitentiary, Cullen.
Serial killer Scott Kimball has been transferred out of Colorado to a high-security federal prison in Cullman, Florida.
Wayne Williams. A resident of Atlanta, Wayne Williams was arrested back in 1981 after killing Nathaniel Cater and dumping his body in the Chattahoochee River.
And that time of night, for someone to throw something over in that bridge, and I can say that just was not a well-traveled area, and it still isn't.
He was later linked to the death of Jimmy Ray Payne, and he was successfully convicted on 2 counts of homicide. However, his true body count is likely much higher. It's believed that Williams was responsible for the Atlanta killings of 1979 to 1981, which left 30 people dead.
The city was on fire with fear.
While he has not been charged, circumstantial evidence has linked Williams to most of the killings. For example, they completely stopped once Williams was arrested for Cater's death. He was given 2 life sentences for killing Cater and Payne and sent to Telfair State Prison.
Well, it's almost 40 years and he's still the same conniving, manipulative person that he's always been.
David Berkowitz. New York City was terrorized by a mysterious killer in the mid-1970s.
David Berkowitz's reign of terror spanned 13 months.
The man was attacking and shooting random people with a revolver, resulting in a massive manhunt that was unlike anything the city had ever seen. The shooter also taunted police with personal letters left at the crime scenes, calling himself the Son of Sam. He was finally caught and arrested on August 10, 1977, after killing 6 people and injuring many more.
When he was arrested, he reportedly told police, "Okay, you got me." According to ballistics tests, apparently they do.
He was identified as David Berkowitz of Brooklyn, who had once served in the United States Army. He was given 6 life sentences and is now imprisoned in the Shawangunk Correctional Facility.
David Berkowitz was brought to police headquarters in Manhattan. Police said ballistics tests conclusively proved that the .44 caliber Bulldog revolver found in his car was the weapon used.
Charles Cullen. This is a frightening serial killer and one of the most prolific in American history. Charles Cullen worked as a nurse in various New Jersey hospitals throughout the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s.
He was able to move from hospital to hospital without so much as a bad reference.
And in that time, he killed multiple patients by overdosing them on drugs. His true number of victims is unknown. 29 have been confirmed, but he has personally confessed to killing 40. But even that number may be low. Investigators believe that Cullen was responsible for hundreds of deaths.
We'll never know how many people Charlie Cullen killed.
It was noticed that many patients were dying under Cullen's care, but a national shortage of nurses ensured that he kept finding work. He was finally arrested in December of 2003 and has since been given 18 life sentences.
What do you want me to tell you?
Names.
I can't remember all the names.
Joseph James DAngelo. This man nearly got away with it. The crimes of Joseph James DAngelo span from 1974 to 1986, and they occurred across the state of California.
In the 1970s and 80s, it's alleged he wreaked havoc all over the state of California, all the while evading capture.
He was known by different nicknames in different jurisdictions, including the Night Stalker and the Visalia Ransacker. It eventually became clear that these killers were in fact the same person, and the late Michelle McNamara gave him the new moniker, the Golden State Killer.
So you see an offender that over the course of more than a decade, he's moving through the state, and at that point in time, law enforcement is not conclusively connecting the dots that this is the same guy.
It's believed that DAngelo killed at least 13 people throughout his crime spree. DNA evidence eventually linked DAngelo to the decades-old crimes, and he was arrested in 2018 at the age of 72. As of February 2023, DAngelo is 77 years old and living in California State Prison, Cochran.
He stole my youth, my innocence. Who could I have grown up to be? I guess I'll never know.
Harvey Weinstein. If there's one face of the hashtag #MeToo movement, it's Harvey Weinstein's.
Nearly 30 accusers and counting. In less than a week, Harvey Weinstein has lost his job, his respect, and now his wife.
Weinstein was a powerful movie producer in his day, creating both Miramax and The Weinstein Company. He was also the Oscar-winning producer of 1998's Shakespeare in Love, which won Best Picture. However, Weinstein had long used his powerful position for illicit activities and had sexually abused at least 80 women during his time in Hollywood.
It's a very important word, shame, and it's a very important thing to talk about. So we all do the best we can, and our best is good enough. And it's really okay to have responded however we responded.
After sparking the entire #MeToo movement, Weinstein was arrested and convicted of various sexual offenses. He was sentenced to 23 years in prison in 2020 and another additional 16 years in 2023, effectively a life sentence.
Yeah, essentially what happened in court today, Aaron, is that Harvey Weinstein, a 70-year-old man in very poor health, just found out that he'll be spending the rest of his natural life behind bars.
Ted Kaczynski. This man had a promising life ahead of him. Obviously very intelligent, Ted Kaczynski graduated from Harvard and briefly taught mathematics at UC Berkeley.
I remember the face, and I remember a quiet young man.
But he quit the position without warning and moved to Montana, where he lived in a secluded cabin. It's here that he became the Unabomber. Using terrorism as a means to fight industrialization, Kaczynski rigged up numerous mail bombs and sent them to various targets around the country.
There were other tenuous ties among the victims, connections to universities and airlines, hence the nickname Unabomber.
The campaign lasted from 1978 to 1995 and killed 3 people. It resulted in the longest manhunt in FBI history, and he was eventually captured in 1996 with the help of his brother, David. Kaczynski was given 8 life sentences and will turn 81 in May 2023. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into Settings and switch on your notifications. Gary Ridgway. When it comes to confirmed killings, Gary Ridgway is the second most prolific killer in American history, behind the deceased Samuel Little.
In Seattle today, a man called the Green River Killer has finally confessed to murdering 48 women and girls.
Ridgway's known crimes occurred throughout much of the 80s and 90s, but they may have also stretched into the early 2000s. In that time, Ridgway killed a confirmed 49 people, but the true number may stretch past 90. He was given the nickname the Green River Killer, as some of his early victims were found in Washington's Green River.
Ridgway, a suspect for nearly 20 years, was arrested in 2001 after DNA testing matched him to the crimes.
Like the Golden State Killer, Ridgway was eventually caught with the help of DNA testing and sentenced to life in prison. As of 2023, he is 74 years old and confined to Washington State Penitentiary.
Gary Ridgway will spend the rest of his life in prison.